Hey everybody, it's Tom Woods. I want to address the Mother Jones article called Ron Paul's 15 Most Extreme Positions. We all know what extreme means in this context. Of course, it means he disagrees with both Hillary Clinton and Mitt Romney. So he's obviously an enemy of society who must be stopped. Now, I like to keep these videos brief, so I'm going to go through all 15 of these very quickly, and then at the end I'll refer you to a resource page where you can find articles and videos that will elaborate in greater detail on the points that I'm making here. So, the first one is eviscerate entitlements. Ron Paul believes that Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are unconstitutional. Well, that's quite a defensible position constitutionally, but is his position that he wants to eviscerate these programs? Well, as he's made clear, his first priority is to reduce the U.S. government's overseas spending on all the military bases and the large imperial presence that is completely at odds with American tradition and conservatism and everything else, good sense and so on and so forth, and that he would take the money and use that to ease the transition away from these programs. And yes, he is disagreeing with Clinton and Romney on this issue on the grounds that the unfunded liabilities for these programs are greater than twice the GDP of the whole world. That's a teensy-weensy problem. And his view is that, young people are people too. And they're going to be putting in money year after year after year for programs that are obviously going to collapse, that can't possibly pay out for them. And he wants to give them a chance to get out of this impossible situation and to provide for their own retirement, give them extra money, leave them with extra money to provide for their own retirement. And he does not believe that before 1937, people just left their elderly parents to die in the gutter. We have no newspaper headlines indicating that people were stepping over corpses on their way to work. And we might also ask, what is leading to these high healthcare prices in the first place that leads us to think that if it weren't for Medicare, everyone would be dead and so on and so forth? Where did these high prices come from? Is that the free market leading to these high prices? Well, that's an answer that you'll get when we get to my resource page at the end. Lay off half his cabinet. He wants to abolish half the cabinet departments. Only half? So he wants to get rid of the departments of energy, education, agriculture, commerce, health and human services, homeland security, and labor. Well, again, I want to keep these brief, but Department of Commerce, well, this is a lot of corporate welfare subsidies. I mean, why is it so unthinkable that we could get rid of that? Or the Department of Education. But here's something that when it was established during Jimmy Carter's tenure, the American Federation of Teachers was against it because they thought one more layer of bureaucracy was not the solution to our educational problems. The New York Times editorialized against it. The Washington Post editorialized against it. So here's something that years ago the establishment itself thought was probably a bad idea. But in 2011, such is our free society, if you utter so much as a peep against it, well, you're an enemy of society, you're an extremist. Ooh, unbelievable how the range of opinion, allowable opinion, has shrunk since Jimmy Carter's day. Everybody was allowed to be against it then. Or the Department of Homeland Security. Anne Applebaum is a historian who wrote for Foreign Policy magazine earlier in 2011. Foreign Policy magazine is extremely mainstream magazine. No extremism in there. And Anne Applebaum said that the Department of Homeland Security serves one purpose, and that is to provide unimaginable bonanzas for favored congressional districts around the United States, most of which face no statistically significant terrorist threat whatsoever. In fact, if you look at the number of companies that had Homeland Security contracts with the government, in 1999 it was 7 companies. In 2003, it was about 3,500 companies. By 2006, it was nearly 34,000 companies. They've got their own trade shows and lobbyists, but this is all just to protect you and me, you understand. It's so quaint the way this, what's his name? Josh Harkinson, who wrote this article, he just believes what the government tells him, He's been taught that since he was in government schools, He's been taught just believe what the authorities tell you. And they tell me, well, the department, it's called Homeland Security, right? So it's just looking out for me. Who would possibly question the gravy train that this thing has made possible? I love his quaint confidence in the authorities, right? Don't question authority, citizen. Trust your overlords. Okay, next one. Ron Paul would enable state extremism. Let me read this one to you. Would let states set their own policies on abortion, gay marriage, prayer in school, and most other issues. Oh my gosh. The earth is going to tumble from its axis and go heading toward the sun. Unbelievable. We can't have that. Now notice the way he frames this whole thing. This would be state extremism. There's that word again, right? Extremism. Ooh, be careful. Well, let's note that he doesn't refer to the TSA's hands in your pants as federal extremism, or the Patriot Act as federal extremism, or incarcerating the Japanese during the 1940s as federal extremism. There is no extremism at the federal level, citizen. It's only when we let you stupid rubes make your own decisions and govern yourselves. Now, of course, the whole point of the American Revolution was local self-government. And, of course, constitutionally, this is obviously the correct position. Nobody in the state ratifying conventions for a second would have thought that these were federal issues. Absolutely zero, nobody at all. But that is Ron Paul's view, that yes, people ought to have some kind of say in how they are governed. Meanwhile, Josh Harkinson is a left-wing nationalist. All questions have a national answer, citizen. Don't tell me that we can have differences of opinion in this country. We're going to have one opinion, we're going to shove it down your throats. Well, that's sweet. So much for small is beautiful. Okay, number 4, protect sexual predators' privacy. This is because he voted against the so-called SAFE Act, which is about securing kids from the possibility of child pornography. Well, again, Josh Harkinson's view is, well, if the act is called the SAFE Act, then it must be about keeping kids safe, right? That's all I need to know is the name of the act. So therefore, if Congressman Paul was against it, he obviously favors child pornography. I mean, what other conclusion could we draw? Here's this square guy who's never even seen a marijuana joint, who's been married to the same woman for over 50 years, has a whole bunch of kids and grandkids, but he's it's just incredible the way the thought controllers in this country operate. Well, his objection to this act was that the wording is extremely broad, such that the innocent were not adequately protected. And as I'll show on my resource page, he has taken steps against online predators when he thought those steps were constitutionally authorized.